Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode on the podcast. Today is going to be an Easter special, so happy Easter. Um, and yeah, I hope everyone's going to have a nice Easter. It's going to be a really fun episode, but we're not actually going to speak about anything to do with Easter probably. But it's releasing at Easter. Um, so if you like chocolate, I hope you have fun. But today is going to be a mix. We're going to talk about loads of different things. Because it's going to be really, really fun. So, Natalie, we have been meaning to do this for a while, and I'm glad we finally
Yeah.
got round to it.
We have. Thank you so much for being so patient, and it's really nice to finally catch up with you.
Yeah, how have you been? Have you had a nice New Year?
Yes, my new year was great. Everything's been good so far. 2025, it's going well. It's going well.
Yeah, it's going fast, isn't it?
It is going fast. It is. It's Easter already.
Yeah, I can't believe it. It was my niece's birthday at the weekend, just gone, and she's one.
Nice.
Turn one, she did.
Oh my
Um,
goodness, happy birthday. What's your
yeah,
niece's name?
Oliver.
Oh,
Yeah,
happy
yeah.
birthday.
Yeah. It was it's an unusual name, isn't it? You don't really I don't think anyone is called Honoran.
Is
Um
it is it is it a Game of Thrones name?
it sounds a bit like one, doesn't it?
It does sound a bit like a Game of Thrones name.
Yeah. Yeah. I like Game of Thrones. Just not so sure about the ending.
Yeah, we just won't talk about that.
No, no, no. But I've been watching The House of Dragons. I watched that on and off because it's got Matt Smith in it, and
Oh, yeah, so it's got the Doctor link.
yeah, it's got a Doctor Link, and even though I know what he will die at some point, it's in the books. They base it on the
Right.
books.
Okay.
Even though I haven't read the
Okay.
books, I just got told what happens in the books. A few years ago, at college, this teacher was obsessed with Game of Thrones, House of Dragons, and she was like, in the books, Matt
Yeah.
Smith will die. Well, he's gonna
Oh,
die. He's gonna
they
go.
should have said spoiler alert before they
Yeah,
told you that.
yeah. I think it was a part of a quiz. So,
Okay. Right. All right. Well, we'll let them off this time.
yeah. Um, but yeah, so I've been doing that, and it's gone fast because I can only imagine my niece being born, and now she's one. So it's brilliant.
Yeah, it does. And it only goes faster the older they get.
Yeah, and then you feel like yourself is getting older, even more.
Yes. Oh, well, I'm just not going to talk about that.
No, let's not talk about age. That's it. Um, but yeah, so to anyone who doesn't know anything about you, would you mind just enlightening them and just doing a little introduction of yourself?
Of course, yes. So I'm Natalie Balmain. Um, I am probably best known for a couple of things. I am a big advocate in the type 1 diabetes space. I host my own podcast about type 1 diabetes called Typecast. And in 2022, so 3 years ago now, I won the first and actually only series of Make Me Prime Minister on Channel 4. So technically, I am Britain's alternative Prime Minister. And
Yeah.
because they axed it after one series, I will forever be Britain's alternate. I have an indefinite term as the alt PM.
Oh. That I bet in a way you're happy that it is acting away because you're the only one.
Well, yeah, I mean, at first when I heard it was axed, I was really sad. I was hoping that maybe they'd invite me back for series two to come and judge the next round of contestants. But then I sat with it for a minute and I thought, well, actually, this way no one can take my title.
No.
Whenever you Google make me prime minister, it will say winner Natalie Balmain. So I'm very happy with that. And I do still get messages from people on social media saying when you're going to step in and save the country. So
Yeah.
maybe I might have to step up and go for the real job next.
It needs to happen. We need we need change. I say that we just had change, haven't we? But still, we need someone new.
Yeah, I
We do.
think someone who hasn't been too molded by the system, because I think it's one of those things. People come from the outside of the system thinking, I'm going to change things, and then they become a part of the system, and the system changes them. And I think we just need some more people who are um, perhaps obtuse is a good word, obtuse enough to
Yeah.
not be changed by the system.
Yeah, I think they tried like every prime minister seems to have this objection to a certain thing. Um, like you had, I think Rishi Sunak was so against like gender or some
Yeah,
to some aspect.
just
Um, uh, which
it's
is
all deflection.
yeah,
Whatever it is, you can guarantee it's not what's actually important, or it's not what the people in the UK actually care about.
yeah.
It's usually a deflection. And usually because, I mean, we've got to a stage, sadly, in politics, much like America, where lobbying, by very powerful individuals and corporations has gone way too far. And ultimately, whatever whoever's in government, whoever you vote for, their decisions are bought and paid for by people with a lot more money than us.
I feel in load of different things. People don't make their own decisions. They go on the high majority of voters. So if they, even government, they're gonna have mates. You're gonna have mates in any job, and they were like, "Oh, are you gonna vote for that?" And then it all tallies up to
Yeah.
the highest bidder. But yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
it's
at least we have
annoying.
a cap on it. In this country, there's a cap on how much a party can spend on their campaign. And so there's a limit to how much they'll get in donations from various people, perhaps, unless the rest of it's squirreled away personally. But a really nice example, well, not nice, but a very obvious example is America, where there's no limits. So, they can receive donations of hundreds and hundreds of millions. And you see very obvious sort of cause and effect there. The NRA spends lots of money lobbying politicians and the Senate, and therefore they never enforce any gun safety laws. That's cause and effect right there. So, um, it's just slightly more covert in this country, I think.
Yeah, it's always changing all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, change could be
We've
good.
started off really
Yeah.
serious on this.
Yeah,
We've
we
come in
yeah, yeah.
strong.
Yeah. We've just started off from the off, haven't we? So talk to me about the Prime Minister show that you was on.
Yeah. So I always said I would never do reality TV. Um, However, it was my younger brother who put me forward for the show. Well, actually, he didn't put me forward directly, but he sent me a screenshot. He saw a casting call for the show, and the advert simply said, "Can you do a better job than our politicians?" And he screenshot it and he sent it to me on WhatsApp and just wrote, "Go, go, go." And I thought about it for a minute because I kind of, it hadn't happened before. So I was thinking, okay, well, this sounds a little bit more serious than what we're used to with Love Island and even The Apprentice and things. So I started to fill in an application, and I only half filled it in, and then they'd asked for a video upload, and I thought, oh, I can't be bothered to do that right now. I'm going to leave it. But I didn't realize they could see your application, even if you don't finish it. You didn't have to submit it or anything. They could see. So the next day, I got a phone call from the producers, and they were like, "Oh, we think your application's really interesting. Can we chat to you on a video call?" So I did, and then it all just seemed to happen really quickly from there. The next thing you know, I am in London for 2 months. It was 2022, so there was still some kind of remnants of COVID. So once we were there, we were there. We couldn't like go home on weekends or anything like that. It was the 12 candidates in a bubble living together for 2 months, and you only left when you got kicked off the show. Um, the format, for anyone who didn't watch it, it is still available on Channel 4 to stream, by the way, if you want to watch. It's six, like 45-minute episodes. It's very bingeable. But the format was very much like The Apprentice. You had two teams every week. Team would appoint a prime minister. You would do a challenge, and whichever team lost, someone from that team is getting kicked off. And we did some amazing challenges, policy development, international crisis management. That's a very cool episode. It's a bit like 24. Episode 3 is brilliant. But I just didn't want to be the first person to get kicked off. I just wanted to make it past week one, which I did. And I put myself forward for prime minister in week one. So that was, I put my neck on the line. But yeah, and once you get past week one and then week two,
This happens every time.
Oh,
Um,
bless you.
um, it just kicks me out for some reason, and then it lets me back in.
I
Um,
don't know what point. What point did you get me up to?
but week two. You're saying
Week two.
about week two.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, what I was just saying was, oh, I was just saying, once you kind of you go, I want to get past week one, and then week two, and then you get to a point in the show where it's like coming up to the semi-final, and you start going, I don't know, it's not just about getting past this week now. Maybe I'd like to actually win this.
I think, yeah, I think in any show you don't want to be the first out, do you?
You definitely don't want to be the. Although, can I just say, I always say this. The guy who I went up against in week one, who was the prime minister of the other team, who got kicked out, is actually a brilliant guy. He's a really nice guy. So, there was absolutely no shame on him. He did a great job. Somebody has to go, right? So,
Yeah,
and I always, I said to him afterwards, at least you can sort of take solace in the fact that you lost to the person who won, ended up winning. You didn't just
yeah,
lose to somebody who went out in week two. So
that's good.
you
At least he lost to the winner.
lost to the winner. So, and it was a great show. It was a great final. There were three contestants in the final who were all female. We had an all-female final debate. Um, and yeah, I highly recommend anyone who hasn't watched it, give it a watch because it's equal parts, I think, informative and also drama, like all good
Yeah,
reality shows.
yeah, I will have to watch it. Because yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch it now.
It's
I want to see that guy go out the first round.
and also episode three, because episode three was my absolute favorite. We did an international crisis as it was developing in real time, and it was yeah, very exciting.
It must be strange because when watching it to doing it because like you said like only 6 episodes for You're There 2 months, so it sounds like maybe only selective parts got in to the final
Oh,
part.
I mean, we filmed for between 3 to 5 full days for each 1 hour episode. So they had, 50, 60 plus hours of footage that was condensed into an hour, which in some ways is really, and you don't get to see it before it comes out. So every week I'm watching going, what are they going to show and not show?
Yeah.
Some weeks it's infuriating because you kind of feel like you see people see you kicking off at someone, but they don't see the reason that you were kicking off at them. Like you just look like you're being mean to them. Some weeks they cut out your most intelligent points. And yeah, it's hard. I was like this, biting my nails every week, going, "Oh my God, how am I going to look?" But it's that's the way reality TV is. I wish they'd shown more of our final debates because the other two girls and myself, I think we did really strong debates, and it kind of gets cut down to a few sound bites, which is never enough when you're talking politics.
Yeah, because you can see sometimes the television shows when it gets cut, but you can kind of notice it. Um, but so for 5 days straight, you was doing one episode. So were you doing the same things in the for the 5 days, just the same thing over and over again?
No, you don't do it over and over. You do a full range of tasks and then you only see a little snippet of it. So, with policy development, we would have a day in the boardroom where we were like literally building our policy. Then day two, we would do a press launch and we would have to go and literally launch it to actual members of the press. I
Mm.
remember in episode one, I had to do my press launch in front of Tim Shipman from The Times, who is a highly acclaimed political journalist. And it was episode one and we didn't know what we were doing. And he did tear into me a little bit, but I had a nice full circle moment with him because he ended up being the journalist that did my press launch when I was in the final. Um, and he did comment that he thought, my journey, my growth throughout it was brilliant. And he wrote a lovely article about me for the Times afterwards. So I can't be mad at that.
Brilliant, love that. That's good. It's always good when you talk to people from who are powerful, I guess, and they can get the word out there. Um, and I think it's good to pressurize them as well. Um, because in the past I've been just always talking about sort of autism and neurodiversity and going to people who can make a difference. Um, because I'm in charge of this autism group, and we do different things. And that they come to me the other month. I was going to say the other week, but that it wasn't. The other month we have a meeting.
I do that all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. The other month we have a
Time
meeting.
blindness.
It's just I don't get time anymore. Um,
Yeah,
but we had a meeting. He had loads of young people because it's all about the young people. So loads of young people still at school, and it was really bad what was happening. But you can't really do anything as such
yeah.
to people in power because every school has different policies and different ways they do things. Um,
Mm.
so what was happening was other people who saw, so say people who needed help, well, got their help, and because they have autism or something, and other people who didn't have autism were pretending that they have autism, so they could try and get the help too. And in a way, for the people who have autism, they felt like they were getting bullied. But in a way, I understand both points. I don't think it's right for people to pretend to be someone they're not to get help. But at the same time, I can understand because what I think should happen is people should not be put in groups. I say this all the
Yeah,
time because it happened to me when I was at school.
yeah.
And I understand completely where they're coming from, but they shouldn't be mean about it, definitely not. But what would happen was you'd be put on your set tables. So say you needed extra help, you'd go on the extra help table, and people who didn't need extra help, they just go on the table on their own, um, with other people who didn't need help.
And I
And re
think people's need for
oh
help is very much like autism and other forms of neurodiversity anyway, whereas there's a spectrum and there's a spectrum of need for help. It's not just needs help, doesn't need help, you know. There are people who haven't had a diagnosis of any, ADHD or autism or anything, but it doesn't mean that they don't need help in certain ways and with certain things.
yeah,
And I do think that yeah, there is still a lot to be learned because at the moment it is still very much a box ticking and categorizing exercise. And, it's part of the reason that you find that a lot of women are now being diagnosed ADHD in later life. It's because they had a very defined idea of what ADHD was. It was jumping up and down on desks and being very physically hyperactive. Whereas we now know that's not the case, and it is very much a spectrum. So, yeah, I think that any form of categorization and putting people in boxes is just not helpful for anyone, regardless of the box that they're put in.
yeah, that was actually one of the highest votes. So we because there's so much things to talk about autism. Everyone chose that was one of the things they really wanted to talk about autism in girls, or or it just being neurodiverse, how hard it can get diagnosed now.
Yeah.
Because different, isn't it? It's different between boys and girls. There's different things. There's similarities as well. But
Mm.
a lot of people find that it's harder, isn't it, to identify.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there are different degrees of it. I like with autism, you can have people who are entirely non-verbal, and then you can have people who are actually quite high functioning. Um, and it's just about finding the sort of the grade of assistance that is required or the types of assistance that is required.
Yeah, and it's hard because has a different what they've been taught. Like other people on who don't maybe understand as much as me. But I don't say that. I just let them say. I let them speak. But like there's certain things that need to be known. Like when people talk about levels, right? Or
Yeah.
like high functioning and low functioning. I don't like that term because like the high and lows. Although it may indicate that someone because everyone with autism or anything, you're gonna have things you're good at and things you're not so good at. So if you're
Mm.
saying you're high, you're gonna there's almost like I'm smarty pants, I can do this. But if you're low, they're gonna be like you can't do anything. But really, I find
That's not the case, is it? It's
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 not.
it's 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 definitely about what I guess with high functioning, it's that classic, you function in a way that a neurotypical person would expect.
Yeah, yeah. Like people. people are going to think if you can communicate, you're more than capable of doing things,
Yeah,
and if you
yeah.
can't, you can't.
And
But
that and they don't that doesn't take into account to all the people that are masking as well, all the people that have found ways of blending in, which is not necessarily how they are inside. And it's actually incredibly detrimental and can create burnout and depression and all sorts of things.
it's really difficult because I think low functioning people, not low function, like people who can't speak, let's say, or they communicate in different ways. They're smart. They are. They are, and they may not be able to speak, but some I've seen can do things, and even though they can't speak, they're hearing you, and
Have you seen that guy? It was a classic video on social media. I think he was nonverbal, but he took a helicopter ride over New York and was able to draw the entire New York skyline from memory from one like 20-minute helicopter ride. He remembered every building, the entire skyline, and drew it. Like, I can't do that. I don't know almost anyone that could do that. So there was a line that I actually used in episode 1 of Make Me Prime Minister, which was an Einstein quote, which says, "We all have our talents, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will spend its life thinking it's stupid."
oh,
And
that's
it's
brilliant.
absolutely true.
Yeah, there's so many quotes that are really true, um, and we find them everywhere. All these different quotes and how much they impact us to do
Yeah.
good things, and but
Yeah.
yeah,
And to see things in a different perspective.
yeah, you see things in a different light, especially maybe when things have happened in your life that are very important or very serious that
Yeah.
may not have thought it would be, but the more you get an understanding of maybe what you're going through, you get to understand maybe a little bit what other people could go through as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So with so you started a podcast. Well, when did you start a podcast?
So, interestingly, I have been working on this podcast pre-working on it since probably like this time last year, like March last year, um, 2024, and then started filming it in July. But I working with Omnipod, who is the company who make my insulin pump. As I mentioned, I'm also type 1 diabetic. And so they've been very kind to sort of sponsor it and help me to put it out. And so what they really ideally wanted was to be able to put out an episode a week, which of course, you know yourself from doing this can be really hard and challenging when you're trying to get guests to talk. You might not be able, you might have a week where no one's available to come and talk to you. So we started filming it in July so that we kind of had a bank of episodes ready. So it didn't actually launch to the public until November 2024. And we have put out an episode every Tuesday since then. We've given ourselves a little hashtag Typecast Tuesdays. And it's great. I've had some amazing guests on who all live with type 1 diabetes and do all kinds of different things. So it's really interesting to see, even though we all talk about type 1, and there are a lot of things that everyone can relate to who has the experience of type 1. There's also a whole load of differences because every guest is different. So I've had on the lovely Rory Douglas Speed, who plays Joel Dexter on Hollyoaks. I've had a great guy called Chris Bright, who was diagnosed with type 1 aged 8 and still went on to play international futsal for Wales. Um, I've had on um, famous TikTokers, other social media influencers, amazing drag queen by the name of Grey Shush. They were absolutely hilarious. Their episode is definitely worth a watch because they're so funny. Um, yeah, and a whole load more amazing people to come still because we're still filming it. It's still coming out every Tuesday. Um, I've just been commissioned for season 2, so I'm really
There you go.
excited about that. Um,
Brilliant.
and I think it's really accessible. So whether you live with type 1 or know somebody who has type 1, or even if you've got no connection to it whatsoever, it's an easy watch. It's something that you can watch, you can understand, you can learn a little, have a good laugh, maybe a few tears here and there. Um, so yeah, if you haven't checked it out, something else to check out. It's called Typecast. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everything.
Yeah, anyone who's watching this, seeing this today, go and have a look at Natalie's
Definitely check it
podcast.
out.
Um, yeah, because I know what you mean with doing it once a week because there was a time, well, there was, I tried to do it once a week for a long time, and I did too much hassle.
It's
Uh,
hard. I don't think
uh,
people realize actually how much work goes into a podcast.
yeah, yeah, because even before I start doing it, right, create a logo. I'm a graphic designer, so it does all of it. It goes me.
Nice.
So if I have a specific, I used to do series like you're doing, like series one, series two, but then we got to like I think we did series four. I lost count. I lost count. I lost count of how many
You
episodes I'm
did
doing.
well by going as long as
Yeah.
series 4. I'd lost count of episodes. By episode 4, I think I shared it on my story and I wrote episode 3 is out and the sponsors wrote it's episode 4. Um, so you counted longer than I
Yeah.
did.
But I did. I was silly because I didn't have a set episode per series because I had so many people. I thought I'm in January. I want to try and get to next year, so I don't have to do. I don't have to be pressured. But then it's so funny. I had this one guy on that said I did that last year. But what people don't realise is a podcast is kind of like is a show like on telly, let's say, where like for example, show you went on. Prime Minister,
Yeah,
you've done it
yeah.
in those 2 months. It's not going to get released in those 2 months. Probably
No.
got didn't get released till probably that year. Probably got released the following
We
year, was it?
filmed from May to the beginning of July,
Yeah.
and the show series started in September. So yeah, it was a
Oh
good
yeah.
couple
What's
of
that?
months
Yeah.
later.
It's
But you know,
not
they
bad.
when we started filming episode 1, at like end of May, beginning of June, as soon as we did that one, they started editing that. So that had been edited from June until September when it came, and it was
Yeah.
end of September when it came out. So yeah, it takes a long time.
It does. It does. And yeah, I had this person on where yeah he was like did that last year. I can't remember what we talked about.
I'll tell you a
But
funny story about the Prime Minister show as well. So we did it in 2022, which, if you remember, was the year that we had all the different Tory prime ministers.
oh yeah, changing them.
So when we filmed the show, in fact, even when we finished wrapping the show, like it was Boris. And then while there was that break, while the show was being edited, it was the Tory leadership race. By the time episode 1 came out, it was Liz Truss. And by the time the final came out, it was Rishi Sunak.
Well, I just laughed at Liz Truss. I just laughed because I remember what once she said in Parliament, I'm a fighter, not a quitter." A few days later, said, "I am resigning from part. I'm resigning."
I think we put that in the intro of one. They changed the intro of the show because at the beginning it was Liz, and then it was like Liz, and then there was Liz quitting, and then it made it into the intro.
It's crazy. It's quite funny though when you're doing that show. You had different prime ministers in a different episode.
Yeah.
Funny. Um, but yeah, I just laugh with all these different prime ministers all the time. I change them too frequently. Um, But there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, so I started off doing series, and then I forgot what episode I was. I did forget, but then I forgot how many episodes I'm doing in a series, and I thought, no, I'm not doing this anymore. So what I do now is I just do a series about something. So a while ago, doing because I found a lot of people who have autism or on the spectrum that like Doctor Who, and
Yes.
we kind of got people on that who like Doctor Who. We mixed it, so we had people who love Doctor Who, doesn't have autism, but then raise awareness of autism while talking about Doctor Who. And then we had the opposite, where you had people with autism that love Doctor Who. So it mixed it up. There was quite a lot of episodes. Went for probably 2 months, and we talked about
I'm
different
not
things.
surprised because like, doesn't everyone love Doctor Who? I feel
Yeah,
like we had a great chat about Doctor Who when we
yeah,
first
yeah.
jumped on the call.
It was funny because of the Mighty School Council organisation I do stuff with. I had to interview someone to be I was the judge. I was one of the judges. So we had it was like you could say a bit like a game show where we're interviewing. Um, we take things on board. I mean, I said one thing about Doctor Who. I just said, "Do you like it?" I asked everyone it. It was nothing to do with the application or anything. You didn't have to like it or not. But I thought the other one who's in charge likes it, so I thought,
Yeah, why not? Ask
"Do
ask the
you?"
question.
And then this lady comes in, and I thought she's not gonna like Doctor Who, is she? And then I was like, "Do you like Doctor Who?" I know it's got nothing to do with what we're doing today, but do you like it? She was like,
Yeah.
"I hate it. I despise it. I hate it." And she said, "I despise it. I can't watch it."
How rude.
Yeah,
She
and then
doesn't get it.
no,
You can't if you don't like it's because you don't
right,
get it.
and then she leaves. She's not in there long. She's not in there long. She leaves. She was actually pretty good from what she was supposed to be at. I mean,
But she
Doctor.
didn't like Doctor Who.
Yeah, she didn't like Doctor Who. So what happened was we discussed we discussed the different reasons, and I was like,
Yeah.
my point was there was another person I would have preferred, which got it right. She didn't get the job, um, but I said I think we should just kick her out because she don't like Doctor Who. That's what I said. It's like I know I ain't got nothing to do with it, but
But it's important, you know,
yeah,
sometimes it's
lie.
just as
You shouldn't
important
lie.
to have a team that get on and gel and can work together
Yeah,
as it
I mean,
is having the skills.
I mean,
I mean, I've certainly been in job interviews where they've asked if I'm a dog person because they're all dog people. Now, you know, luckily for me in those situations, I'm a dog, but I have a little dog, so it's fine. But, you
I
know, I
love
do think
dogs.
people ask, I love dogs.
I love
I've got a little,
Dogpool. I want to meet Dogpool. You know Dogpool from Deadpool? Yeah. He goes to the Comic Cons. You can pay to see
does
him.
he?
Yeah.
I would go to
Yeah.
Comic-Con just for that.
Yeah, see Dogpool. I think £20
I
it
want to see
was.
dog. I want to see Dogpool.
I haven't seen him, but I always see him going to these Comic Cons. And I just like how much his tongue just sways out. And it actually just stays there. Brilliant.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's it. On the dog and sort of
In the dog.
film route, do you know what oh um do you know what Mark Hamill's dog is called?
What is it called? Luke.
No. He's called Bark. Bark
Bark.
Hamill. He is. His dog is called Bark.
Bark. That's
Bark
crazy.
Hamill.
Just because it barks. Just because it barks.
I don't know how true this is, but I heard he let fans on social media name his dog and they came up with Bark Hamill.
We're just taking the Mickey out of him, though.
No, I think it's
So,
great. I think it's
yeah.
great. Bark
I
Hamill.
love it. I love it. They just call it bark. If you get a cat,
I mean,
meow.
if they'd done that in the UK, they would have called him Doggy McDogface, wouldn't they? So
Yeah, I love that name. It's brilliant. I mean, I just love dogs.
I love dogs.
I love dogs.
Love dogs.
Like that. That
Dogs are
should be a
great.
question. That should be a question at every
That,
interview.
that should be. Honestly, I do. I think that if I was interviewing, I would definitely ask people if they
Yeah.
were dog people.
But it does depend on the dog, I suppose. Um, because some dogs can turn, can't they? But the majority of them are lovely.
See, I have a Chihuahua, and everybody expects him to be rah, 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 and he's not. He's got the personality of a tiny Labrador.
Yeah, I've brought connections within not my own dog, but I've had connection with family friends that have had dogs, and I've been really drawn to them. Like there was a dog um that my family friend and used also to go up there and say, I only went for the dog. I think that was the only reason I went to play with the dog.
I'm just here for the
Uh,
dog.
yeah, and it's really cool because his name was Skip.
Skip, that's a great
Yes,
name.
Skip, and it was a lovely
It's a
dog.
great name.
And you was asked paw, and they give you your paw, like you shake your hand. And it was lovely, and then he passed away sort of like a few years ago, which is sad. But then I got a connection to another dog that was, I think, like what?
Dogs are wonderful. They're loyal. They can sense emotion.
Yeah, they make you feel better sometimes.
They absolutely do.
Yeah, It's good, but you've got to have some. When you have interviews when you're in charge, you can't be saying I hate it. But yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
can't be
mean,
doing
I
that.
think like the general rule should like if you're being interviewed and somebody asks you if you like something, is you should just say yes.
Yeah,
Just
you,
always say yes.
uh, and then you have this thing like honesty is the best policy.
You can tell I was on a political
Yeah,
show now. I'm being a politician and saying just say yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But some of the politicians now don't, do they? They just say no.
Well, yeah, that's true. They just say no to everything.
Yeah, I don't want that.
No,
I
we
don't.
need more yeses in life.
Yeah, yeah. I've watched this. I watched something the other day. It was quite funny. It was an old video of the Britain's Got Talent where you had this school drama teacher doing a sing song.
Okay.
And like he went there for his kids. His kids at the school wanted him to do it, and he was there, and he was like everyone said yes except from Simon, and he was like the, the actor on the stage was like, Simon, say I did a really good job. I want you to tell that to me so the kids have heard that. You tell me that. And it's like and he said it. You did a really good job.
Good.
And then he listened to the
Good.
crowd. He didn't say. He still said no, I think, but he still got the three yeses anyway. But
There you
um,
go.
I think it's brilliant. When you go on a show for a cause and you do well,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
you do well. Um, But there was a show that I always was wanted to go on, but I won't now because of things that happened with the presenter. But I when I was growing up, I always watched The Cube, and I loved watching The Cube because
Oh, yeah.
I thought I want to give it a go. But now they do these like I think things in London where you can actually have your own personal experience.
They do one in Manchester too, and I have done it.
Yeah,
And I won a couple of the games
yeah,
in the cube. So I was very proud.
good.
Very proud. Because I don't think as well, they're like, I'm not great at catching and things like that. So the one where you've got two people have got to simultaneously throw things and catch them. I
Yeah,
won that with the partner, and also the one where you've got to get all the balls in the tiny little holes at the quickest time. I did that, so I'm happy with that. That was like an achievement for me.
it's good. It, did you hear like the guy like saying things like
Yeah,
like you have five like live remaining or something?
yeah, you heard that as well. And the fun thing about doing the experiences is usually people go, with a group of friends, and it's like
Yeah,
bowling. They'll put you into two teams. And so I was there with three other friends, so it was two-person teams. And they were like, "Oh, you've got to put team names in." And me and my friend, and then our other two friends, they were like, "We can't think of any team names." So I chose both team names, my team and the other team. And I made my team winner winner and the other team chicken dinner.
that's brilliant. Yeah, and did you win?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, so
We did. It was
you
close
got
though.
that.
It was close.
Yeah, you knew you had this
I
scientific
knew that's
ability.
why I called us winner winner.
Yeah,
That's what. But the other experience day that you can do in Manchester that I really want to do, that's based on a game show, excuse me,
yeah,
is the Crystal Maze.
crystal maze.
Yeah.
Right.
Excuse
That
me, I'm gonna have a drink.
that's what is the crystal maze? Is that like you got to get out the maze?
Yeah, it's like they put you in the locked room and you've got to figure out the puzzle in time, otherwise you get locked in the room.
Mm. That sounds
And
cool.
I used to always think when I watched Crystal Maze as a kid that they were genuinely locked in there all week until next week's episode. But I
Yeah,
don't think they.
it's good when they do this because you know you don't have to do the stupid application form. You know, like when you're
Oh
for the
yeah,
actual show. Um,
yeah.
because
Application forms are long. I know. Yeah.
too long. Like
It's like
that
jobs. If they let you upload a CV, great. But if you've got to fill in some long form with loads of questions, no.
boring. It takes too long. Like um, like with the traitors, I've probably applied. two or three
Oh,
times.
have you?
Yeah, I applied two or three times, and
Okay, so here's the question then. Would you be a faithful
yeah.
or a traitor?
um, I would probably be a traitor. I think I'm very good. Because what I'm really good at, you know, making someone think I'm serious when I'm not.
Ooh,
Um,
it's an interesting
yeah,
skill.
yeah, I'm quite good at it, and I'll be like, well, when you think you're laughing at something, I'll be like, I don't find that funny, or something like that. So I'd be good at a traitor, but in there, I don't know how I would feel because like it's very intense when I watch it on the telly, and I feel like I know all television's not real, but I do think there's a part in there that is very intense. Having
Yeah.
spoke to contestants that have been on the show. Um,
I think any competition style reality show is intense, whether you're doing The Traitors or the show I did was very intense. I definitely cried a few times, or even Bake Off. I'm sure doing Bake Off is really intense.
yeah, yeah, it's any show, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
even even Tip and Point or more so The Chase. Um,
Oh,
I mean, I'm not good at questions like that, but I'd go on it, Brady Walsh.
yeah,
I just chat with him.
I'd go on.
I just chat with him. I'd be like, I laughed once, right? Someone went on The Chase and said, "I watched Doctor Who. You was in the recent series." And it's like, it's rubbish. Like, he was like, he said it's rubbish to him. um, even though I did like Bradley Walsh in Doctor Who. I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah, he was all right. He
He,
was good.
he was good. Um, but yeah, so I failed my three attempts, and I've done the application form right for the traitors, and three times, and maybe what I should have done is copy and paste it, so I don't have to do it again all the time. But
Yeah.
I'll probably have to do it again because
Do it. Just keep
I
doing it.
I'll probably just keep doing it. Um, but what happens is, so you sign everything in, you like, maybe I'm next time just gonna ask really silly, not be honest, because I'll just say something really silly. Like I'm gonna fly there or something, because they ask how you know what they say? How are you getting to the castle? They tell you how are you traveling to Scotland. It was like I haven't worked that out. Like
Yeah.
I'll maybe plane or car, maybe I don't know. Um, but yeah, and then they ask you for a video thing as well, saying what would you want to be, traitor or faithful. Um, so you get asked that as well. But then
Mm.
but then when series this current series now series three, well it would have been finished by the time this is out. It's Easter. I forgot. But with series three, before that aired, right? I got an email from the company that do the traitors,
Oh,
um,
really?
and they emailed me, and it wasn't about the traitors. They were saying we still don't know if series three is going to happen. Um,
Oh.
and they said Squid, this thing called Squid Game: The Challenge. That's on
Oh, yes. I
Netflix. They
I
said
saw that. I'm
they said to me, "Do you want to go on that?" And I was like, um, they said you could apply for it if you want, and I didn't. I didn't.
no. I'd be too
I
scared to go on that.
no. I heard reviews of the first series, and I thought some people
Yeah.
were saying it was bad. It was really terrible. Like it was almost like it was in the game itself. So yeah, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't mind doing some of the challenges, but I just don't think I'll get far. I don't want to apply for something that I feel like I'm going to go out quite early on. Like
Yeah.
with the traits, you don't know. You don't know. You could just get kicked out straight away. But I just think it'd be more fun. Like I enjoy
Yeah.
it. I enjoy it when I'm there, but
That was
yeah,
definitely my thing on Make Me Prime Minister. I just didn't want to be the first to get kicked off.
yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal getting kicked off first.
It is hard.
It's terrible. But you didn't. You won the
I
lot.
won.
Yeah.
I won
Did
the show, so it's fine.
did you get a prize for winning?
I did. So there was a cash prize and there was the wonderful title of Britain's alternative prime minister, which, like I said, is never going to get taken off me now. So I feel like I should put that on my CV
Yeah.
for, current slash former prime minister, prime minister, technically, because no one's taking it away.
Do you know why you got axed, or could they not find anyone else?
I think it was genuinely because it was supposed to be their big show of the year, like the most watched Channel 4 reality show of the year, and I just don't think it did as well. I think because of what happened with all the prime ministers that year, people were just like politicsed out, and not as many people watched the show as they wanted to watch the show. So they decided. And to be fair, I think at the time as well, like Channel 4 and a few other channels, you know, there wasn't so much money coming in and they were axing a lot of shows. So
Yeah,
it's like Netflix this last year. Netflix has axed a bunch of shows that people were like, what?
it's
You know,
crazy.
like that Chaos show with Jeff Goldblum, they've axed that after one series, like things that people were like, but we like that. So it's just the way it goes in TV sometimes, I think. It's just
Yeah, I think Channel 4 isn't the most popular channel, is it? Out of all like your main ones that you just watch, like if you
yeah.
have BBC One or
I
ITV.
mean, for me, I love dogs behaving badly. So I watch Channel 5 the most.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. Because they're always making new ones, aren't they? So you might they might bring it back again. Um,
I'm still kind of hoping that maybe it will end up on Netflix and like have a second wind on Netflix and people will discover it who didn't watch it the first time.
important. It's important. I mean, I'm always watching. I try to watch something new all the time,
Yeah.
and like I try and watch if in other countries if they do the same show, I'll try and watch it again to
Yeah.
see what they do because they have different opinions and like
Yeah, and sometimes the other countries' shows are better than the UK versions. I mean, I don't watch it every season, but I have watched some Married at First Sight UK and Married at First Sight Australia, and Australia one is better.
the Australia
So,
shows, Australia New Zealand shows are quite good.
yeah.
Um, some people sometimes don't like accents. I know a lot of people tend to don't like Australian
See,
accents.
I grew up watching Neighbours, so I
Yeah,
love an Aussie accent.
yeah. I've spoke to people from Australia. Well, I did a little Australian
Nice.
last year. We did a few episodes about talking about all our journeys with Crohn's or IBD.
That's
Um,
amazing.
but in a way, I'm glad it finished because I was staying up quite late. I'm night owl
Yeah, of
anyway.
course.
I'm a,
Yeah, of
like,
course.
but it was nice, and we had to stop it because certain things were going on in people's lives. And this, we did about maybe 3 episodes, but it was nice. We talked about a lot in during one episode. Um, but I like Chris Brighty who came on yours.
Yeah.
I've had him on my podcast before a while ago.
Amazing.
And
Amazing.
I went on his when he did one. He did one with two other people that I don't think had um diabetes. I think he did a podcast with two other people that had, or three other people who'd had. I think two had Crohn's and one had another condition which I can't remember, but um, it was really fun. They invited me on their show, and
That's
yeah,
so nice.
yeah,
Chris
he's
is brilliant,
brilliant.
isn't he? He's just fabulous.
Yeah, he's a joy to talk to.
Yeah, he definitely is. I really enjoyed having Chris on my show. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
do they all come down to do, like arranging a podcast is hard, isn't it? So how
Yeah.
much process does it take into talking to one person?
Oh, just loads because we film in a live studio. Well, it's not live like when it goes out, but we're filming person to person. I get the guest in the same room as me. So it's, and because I'm we're in a studio, you want to try and make the most of your day there. So we tend to film 3 episodes in a day. So first of all, you've got to find 3 guests who are all available on the same day
Yeah,
and then get the studio and then get them to London from wherever they are from, book their travel and get them down there and then brief them. We do pre-filming calls with all of the guests so we can just go through the structure of the show and say, we'll talk about this, and then there'll be some quick fire questions, and then there'll be this. So it's loads of work. And then luckily for me, I don't have to do any of the post work. So once it's filmed, there's another team who edit it and do the social media ads and all the rest of it, which is because that's a whole nother other piece of work doing the
Yeah,
follow-up bit after you've actually filmed it. So yeah, it's a lot. And like you said before, it's like doing a television show.
yeah,
It really is that much work. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah, it's definitely a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. And I think like probably like you as well, having different guests on every week is such an honor and such a joy to be able to give people an opportunity to tell their story and and draw awareness to what
yeah,
they do and what they advocate for and it's yeah, it's just
yeah.
a pleasure. I absolutely love doing it.
I think it's good. I think it's good having people on sharing their story, but also I like having people who don't have any idea about it. So for example, you could have someone on that doesn't have like diabetes, and they maybe want to learn about it. So you could have an episode perhaps where you'll talk to them maybe about your
Yeah,
journey, because I don't know if you're talking about your journey when you're having these people on, but you're more probably focusing it on their story and them talking to you about what happened for their diabetes, maybe not as much as yours. So perhaps what you
yeah.
could do
And
is
that's a really
have
good point.
someone on
Yeah.
that doesn't have a clue, or
Yeah.
maybe not a clue, but wants to know, wants to understand maybe what it is, how it's different for everyone, because
Yeah, absolutely. Because
because
that's what I really want. And I think anyone who does a podcast wants that, doesn't it? Because you've got
yeah,
this ability to basically connect with anyone on the internet who finds you. Is that I don't want the show just to be for people who live with type 1 or know somebody with type 1. It's the whole point of it is that it's easy to digest and to understand. And yeah, I do want for people who don't even have any connection to type 1 diabetes at all to be able to watch it and go, oh, do you know what? That was really fun and I learned something.
yeah, yeah, because that is I think for a time you're going to do that to start. That's what I did. I just talked about what I have. I have like Crohn's. It all started with that. I changed the name half a dozen times when I started it. So I had Crohn's, called it Crohn's Journey Awareness or something. And then
Yeah, yeah.
I thought, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I had a few episodes of that talking on my own. I went on the app on my phone, just like it's like a voice. You know when you do a voice recording to someone, it was almost like that. I was like, oh, I'm getting bored. Well, they're probably getting bored of me. People getting bored of me talking to myself. So then I got guest on, and then I changed the name, which is Crohn's and Autism Awareness Advocate. But in the logo, it's called that because that's what a lot of the episodes probably focus on. But on the logo, it will have mental health. I think it has a mental health on there. It has hobbies. 'Cause I like talking about hobbies. What I'm interested in and what other people are. Um, and also chronic illnesses, so which diabetes can fall down as well. Um, and yeah, so I have people on about different things. Like I've had people on
I love that. I think that's
that
so great. It's so nice to have that
yeah,
diversity in what you do and what you talk about.
because I like to like as much as I like to talk about myself, but I like to understand other people and what they go through as well. Because I'm like because my Crohn's, I'm got uh, the probably one of the worst forms because like we talked about different forms of stuff earlier. My
Mm.
Crohn's is called patchy pans, and that's one of the worst forms of Crohn's you could
Wow.
get, and it's not great. But I've done alright with it. So for me, I like with Crohn's and different medication I take, you can get anything like all other
Yeah.
illnesses as well. So diabetes is down that line, and like I spoke to Chris about it before, and anyone has diabetes really. Like there's a bracket of that diabetes. That's a stigma. A lot with
Yeah.
ADHD, stigma is around everyone's got ADHD because they're screaming, and that's that stigma for that. For diabetes,
Yeah.
stigma is you have to be overweight to have diabetes, right? That's it.
Yeah.
That's what stigma
Yeah.
is for diabetes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And it's just a lack of awareness. It's a lack of understanding around the condition. And I say this all the time, first of all, type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune condition. So it's got absolutely nothing to do with having high cholesterol or high blood pressure or being overweight or any of those things. Um, And even type 2, type 2 can sometimes be caused by somebody being overweight, but also a lot of people with type 2 who are not overweight who are diagnosed, and it's because they might have high blood pressure can be a fact, a contributing factor, or high cholesterol. Um, but the reason I get so upset about people, A, confusing the two, type 1 and type 2, and B, this stigma about weight, is because there are some babies who are diagnosed at days old, or weeks old, or months old. How can it be an overweight thing? They're literally breastfeeding or on formula. It's such a, or for young kids who are diagnosed, who are going through primary school, for somebody to kind of almost blame them for a diagnosis, which they're not to be blamed for. It can't be prevented. It can't be cured, type 1.
Yeah,
Um, it kind of, you're already struggling. 1 in 2 people with type 1 diabetes have mental health issues. You're keeping yourself alive every day, and it's hard work. Um, so to then feel like, not that we want sympathy, but understanding, to feel like people are not giving you that understanding and therefore that support because they've kind of gone, oh, well, you've done it to yourself. It's so hard for young kids. It's hard being a kid anyway, but then to be treated like that, I find really, really upsetting. So it's one of the reasons that I talk about it so much. And also because you wouldn't do it to almost any other condition. You
yeah,
wouldn't, people feel so comfortable to say things like, oh, did you eat too many sweets as a kid, to someone with type 1? You wouldn't walk up to somebody who had cancer and say, did you smoke too many cigarettes? You just would not say that. You would never say that. So I don't understand why people feel so comfortable to kind of joke or pass blame onto people with type 1 diabetes. It's factually incorrect and it's just mean.
it is. It is, and this is where we find out people's true colours in life, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like it's happened to me as well, where I got approached by this lady or this I think in the Times, like wanted to write article about me and about my Crohn's and how it was like in COVID, and they make it sound so wrong that what it is.
yeah,
And I was like, before you post it, can you send it to me so I can have a look? I was like, no, it's got to be posted. You can't, we can't. It has to be posted. So I said, okay, then if it's going to be what I'm saying to you, but it wasn't. It was nothing what I said. It was completely. So the one in pictures from me wearing my face mask, like literally my face mask when it was really bad,
yeah,
and they make it sound like that's happening now, right? And then on the article, I make her turn the comments off because I'm not going to be doing this again with you because
yeah,
that's bad for my mental health. Because all the comments, if I'm reading them, they're really hateful. Even people with Crohn's, right? Who not everyone with the same condition as you are going to understand, and everyone with the same condition is going to have a different journey, right?
yeah,
And because I that is wrong what they're saying, and then at the same time, I got people saying to me like you're saying because I take cancer drugs for my Crohn's that help it,
yeah,
and person says to me, cancer, you're not your condition's not worse than cancer, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is that I'm having to have
yeah,
my immune system is really dampened and suppressed, so I have to be really careful because I'm taking medication that
yeah.
cancer patients take. Not that cancers
Yeah, it's
are,
got nothing to do with trying to
no,
compare or say whose is worse. It's
no,
totally different.
no,
It's totally
and then
different.
at that point, I was in a group of friends and they basically decided to ditch them because how mean they were being from that article, which wasn't really any of their business, to be honest,
No,
because it was just an article I got approached with, and probably a lot of family probably didn't say anything to me because they probably knew because it didn't even do that. It got onto when something goes quite viral, and then it went on
yeah,
to another article, then it went into the
yeah,
Scotland, then it went to the New Zealand, so it went on different countries and they were just reposting it, and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't just say you take it down because it's too late now.
yeah,
Um, so that's one thing about that. But it was quite bad, and at that point I realised that um I don't I even before that I realised I don't care what people think of my illness. and like about people being hateful, and which
Yeah.
links in to what you're saying, like they're being mean around people with diabetes, just being mean, and it's not necessary, but that's what people do. Some people are just going to be mean for the sake of being mean.
And I think like you touched on it there, it's important to just go, okay, I'm glad that I know what type of person you are, so we can just I won't engage with you. There's no need to engage with people like that who are going to be mean. Just block them, let them do their thing, whatever it is. Great. You gave me the opportunity to see you for what you really are. So thank you.
Yeah, people are different around certain people. Maybe they want to impress them, or they just want to ditch you.
I think a
That's
lot of
what.
it is projection. I think when people
Yeah,
feel bad about themselves for whatever reason, they're the way that they try and make themselves feel better about themselves is to bring somebody else down.
yeah. It's
Um,
it's not.
and
Yeah,
I just feel sorry for them, and I think that's the best thing you can do.
yeah. Feel sorry for them how they've been and how they've changed, but. At the same, I don't, like I say, I regret doing it, but sometimes I don't because I'm glad that people's true colours have come out about them, so I don't have to have them in my life anymore, and I can just continue. No,
Absolutely.
basically,
Yeah, always beware talking to journalists.
yeah,
Always.
yeah, yeah. Because we had a call we did beforehand, and I thought something happened before with this, and I want yeah, I, I probably shouldn't have because like. Knowing that people just twist it, right? And they make it sound as worse than it actually was, and
Yeah.
like we're still in the pandemic, which it weren't, but um, yeah. But the thing is, I laughed at the situation with so-called friends at the time because months later, right, they're still talking about it, and I've moved on.
Yeah.
I've moved on, and that they're saying to me, we've moved on for the situation. And I was like, there was no situation to be had. If anything, it was my business. It's my
Yeah.
business that I did, and it don't matter what I done. And they're saying this isn't true. This isn't true. Like,
It just shows they've got nothing else to talk about.
yeah. But what happened was like you go to the football, you do this, you do that. But as much as that's true, yeah, I do. But it says in the article that I may not. But they wanted to focus on the pandemic, and they've made it sound that the pandemic's now.
Yeah.
So I can't do anything, and I don't mind how it's gone. But yeah, just got to be careful, I guess, in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Journalists always need a good story, so they're always going to find that angle.
There was another situation. When I met David Tennant, right, a few years ago.
I want to hear Ratness
I met
with
David
David
Tennant a few
Tennant.
years ago. And I had the whole conversation recorded. And my conversation with him was about 2 minutes, and it 2 minutes with David Tennant is long
Yeah.
because you normally get 30 seconds, if that, with probably with him. But I went to a Comic Con where he was the only star there. Um,
Wow.
Nothing against any of the others, but they were just people from Star Trek, like people like that, and they weren't like David Tennant.
They
So
weren't
he
David Tennant, but nobody's David
no,
Tennant.
no. Like day before, you had Jeffrey Dean Morgan from like The Walking Dead,
Yeah.
and but I like The Walking Dead, but I'm not as much a big fan of that as I am Doctor Who. So they had one or the other. So David Tennant on the
Obviously
Sunday.
David Tennant. Obviously.
Um, but before I tell you actually what happened, when we had the his talk, I was just laughing at one person. One person saying, he done this show at the theatre. I forgot what it's called. But he did this show at the theatre, and then this person in the audience was saying how rubbish he was in it. But she was laughing. No, but she said it in a jokey way.
Okay.
But
All right.
like she was
Don't
going,
insult my David.
yeah, yeah. But she was going back and forward. You're like, you could have done this, David, but you were rubbish in that. But you did really good in that, David, but you were so bad in that. And he was like, you go back and forward, don't you? And he was like, um. I thought, although I felt really bad for David because I think he might have took it personally a bit because it's like you want me to come here? Why did I come here for? And then he was like, oh. So I felt it was quite funny that part. Um, but sometimes when people ask questions, some people ask really really silly things.
Yeah.
I had my hand up near enough the whole time, and I didn't get to ask him anything. They was going around me, and I had a really good question. I did, and I don't think I remember it now, but at the time, oh yeah, I think I did. this is my question was going to be, David. You know, in I think it was the hospital episode with Martha. No, no, it wasn't. That is not it. You know, the Stolen Earth when you're going to the Jadoon and
Yeah,
you speak really fast in Jadoon language.
yeah,
I want to ask you, how quick did you learn to speak that fast, and could you do that here right now? That would have been my question.
that'd have been a great question.
Yeah. And then you got other people just talking a lot of rubbish, like asking them stupid things. And I think myself, whenever I see someone, right, I will ask them necessary questions. So like the 60th anniversary was happening. So when
Yeah,
I met him at his table, I did like it's like a mini interview. It was.
brilliant.
I could send it to you if you wanna.
Yes, do. I want to see it. I want to see
Um,
it.
um, but it was awesome. It was, and I posted it on my social media. I
Yeah,
did post it on Twitter at the time. I think it might have been called Twitter at the time. I don't know.
yeah,
Um, and then I posted it on TikTok, posted it on Facebook, or I posted it on all my social medias. Had my own Doctor Who account, so it would go on my own personal Doctor Who Instagram account as well. And then a few weeks later, I find out that the Radio Times have put it on an article, and they've shared my video. They shared it, right? And I go on Facebook and it had loads of shares, loads of likes, loads of comments. I was thinking to myself, oh, good. And I couldn't
that's
believe it.
amazing.
I couldn't believe what I saw. And then it had me at the same time. At the time, I was not annoyed, right? Because it was quite funny. Because in my talk with him, he was like, I said, what's the situation going to be like, David, without giving anything away? What do you think it's going to be like? It's like, I think it's going to be unexpected. Then the title of the Radio Times article, it's David Tennant teases to fan, it's going to be unexpected, the 60th anniversary. So it goes viral. I think on my Twitter it's the pinned video. I still got it pinned because I don't want to take it off. But yeah, so the reason I was annoyed, right, at the time was because they took my video without my permission, but at the same time I took the video without David's permission. But anyway, you can record David anyway if you have
Yeah,
the opportunity. Um, but at the same time, I feel like I felt sad a bit that I didn't get notified that it was getting
yeah.
shared.
They should have told you at
Um,
least.
yeah,
They should have just said, "Are you okay? Are we okay to use this?" Because you would have said yes anyway.
yeah, I would just say yeah, and it was a better experience than what we talked about earlier with the other thing. But it was brilliant, and I didn't expect that to happen. Yeah,
So
it was
I've just learned, obviously, I must be your second favorite interview after David Tennant.
yeah, 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 because you're a winner.
Thanks. Thanks.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm a
yeah,
winner. Winner,
yeah,
winner, chicken dinner.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
The, on the podcast, right? I'd say other than you, because we're not done yet. So I can't say you're my favourite yet because we haven't finished.
oh yeah,
Um,
okay. Fair
but
enough.
but favourite of the year.
Okay. Well, thank you.
No, but prior to doing this one, my favourite one was Paul McGann
Oh,
because
okay. Oh yeah, no, I
because
yeah, I forgot you
yeah
had interviewed Paul McGann. So yeah,
yeah
okay, so I'm your third
yeah
favorite.
yeah. But interview outside of podcasting is probably David because it wasn't on the podcast. It was
Yeah.
just I,
I
I
mean,
asked him to.
that would be my favorite, I think.
Yeah, I asked him to, but I did start because I go to Doctor Who locations, right? So get on the fireplace. Remember that episode that he done
Yes.
with like
Yes.
Madame de Pompadour? So that's one of my favourite ones that he done. I really like it.
That was a great episode.
Yeah, I
That
enjoyed
was a
it.
great episode.
Yeah.
Did
So
love
go,
that one.
so I go to the different Doctor Who locations. So the part where he's Madame de Pompadour's in the garden, and he's ducking between that wall, trying
Yes.
to like peekaboo.
Yeah.
Well, I go to that location, and I'm in the David Tennant clothes, the 10th Doctor, and then I have a picture there, just like leaning over
That's
like he's
amazing.
doing, and then I've side by sided it, so I give him it when I saw him. That was my plan,
That's so cool.
and then well, I actually have a picture with him holding it actually. Um,
No, you
yeah,
don't.
yeah, yeah. We had a picture, everything held. So, the three story short, I got away with a lot when I went to that Comic Con, right? So I had three pictures with him. I had one with a Dalek, one with a TARDIS, and one with just a blue screen.
That's so cool.
Um, but I only paid for one because they weren't paying attention. I did. They
There
said
you go.
like you just give them one pass, and I was going through. So
I mean, that's not your problem.
no, it's
Sounds
it,
like a them problem.
newbie. It was one of the newbies. She was new. She didn't know what she was doing. Yeah, but yeah. So other than he's my favorite interaction. Actually, my first interaction. He was the first ever Comic Con I went to, David Tennant.
Wow.
So that's where it started. And then a few months later, I'm having Paul McGann. A few months later, I meet Alex Hinks and River Song. So I've met a fair few good people going to these things. But
That's amazing.
Paul McGann episodes are probably, yes, my favourite one, but it's probably the most popular one. I didn't expect it to be because sometimes when episodes go out, it depends, doesn't it, on how well an episode does. And that had lots of plays, like on the app I do, and
Yeah.
it was brilliant. But it's not often we get a winner on a podcast. So I'm glad that you've come on to
Thank
say,
you so much. And I've loved it. I've had the best time
yeah,
chatting to you this evening. So I really appreciate you inviting me.
yeah. But just before we finish,
Okay.
to have a quick chat about Doctor Who, I
Yes.
like about just a little before we go.
Okay.
Uh,
So
right, where should we start?
we've got to start with favorite recent doctors, right?
Right,
Of the newer doctors.
yeah,
Because I think like if you did favorite doctors of all time, I think everyone would just say Tom Baker, wouldn't they? So
mm,
we're going to say favorite of the newer doctors. For me, it's Peter Capaldi.
you love
And
it.
I did never thought that because I love David Tennant. I do. I love him. But I think Peter Capaldi for me had the whole package. He was brilliant. He had the right enigma. He had the storylines as well.
That's right. He was brilliant.
So
I loved. I appreciate him more now than like I said, than when he was in it. But he's good.
he's
I
he's I just love him. I love
speeches
him.
were brilliant. Some of those speeches he
Yeah.
done, like that war one.
So if you ever get a chance to interview him on a Zoom thing,
Yeah,
zoom me in.
zoom you in.
Zoom me
Zoom you
in.
in. Yeah, yeah. I'll definitely let you know. Like like so mine. I have two scenarios here. So
Okay.
in person, probably Paul McGann because he's so
I
lovely to
mean,
talk
you
to.
from what you say, he is super nice. So
Yeah, it doesn't sound like he doesn't act like he's popular. He acts like us. Like he doesn't act. So like when I had him on podcast, hour and 49 minutes, but an extra 30 minutes, he woke his son up because he couldn't hear me. Um, so I love him,
I
but
love that. Don't you think it's so much nicer when there are people that you like, but then you
yeah,
meet them in real life and they're nice people as well. It just makes the whole thing
yeah,
even you just
yeah,
like them even more after that.
yeah. Like that's what I say to David Tennant. He's exactly like he is in Doctor Who. Really, he's got so much energy about him. You know when you see him as a Doctor, he's got so much energy. He's like that in person.
Love
Um,
that.
and I amaze these actors that do that because you must be so tired of keeping up it
Yeah.
up. In a
I
way, it's
reckon he
like they're
crashes out
acting.
at night. I reckon like he sleeps hard.
Yeah, it's like they're still acting, isn't it? When they go to the Comic Cons because they've got to act to be
Yeah.
like really nice. Because in a way, they are nice, but they've got to try and keep that because they're going to get tired. And
Maybe that's why the very first ever Doctor played it the way that he did, a little bit grumpy because he was like, I'm gonna get tired of playing happy all the time. So I'm just gonna be I'm gonna be a grumpy doctor.
yeah, yeah, I'd say my favourite is the 10th Doctor.
Yes.
Um, but so okay then, where would we rank? Let's say from the Ninth Doctor to the Doctor now. Where would we put them in order? Do you reckon?
Well, I mean, no, I've already put David Capaldi first.
But you've
So
got
then
him
it's got
first.
so then it's got to be David Tennant after.
Yeah,
Then I think it's got to be Matt Smith.
that's good.
And then I feel bad putting Shooty after because I actually really like Shooty, but that's just fair.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
can't put you any higher because I've put those guys there.
yeah. They're there for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you
And
think
I don't dislike Jodie. I love Jodie.
they're
But
all
I just don't
good?
think Jodie got the storylines maybe that she deserved.
No,
I don't
this.
know. It just yeah.
Who would you put? So, would you put Ninth Doctor above Shooty and Jodie?
Oh yeah.
So Ninth Doctor's above them, and would you say Shooty and Jodie are just even?
I mean, I would say I have preferred more of Shooty's episodes, but that's not down to him being better than Jodie. I think they're both great actors, and I enjoyed both of their representations of the Doctor. But I've enjoyed, yeah, more of the actual episodes and the content of Shooty's. So his season probably ranks a bit higher.
Yeah, I think his energy reminds me a bit like David Tennant in some
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah, I mean, I loved that regeneration, the
Yeah,
David Tennant Shooty regeneration was so epic, and that whole little David Tennant degeneration regeneration 3 episodes with the toy maker,
I love that one.
amazing. Like they blew
So
my
good,
mind, blew my
so
mind.
good. I loved it. Like it was all like all family came around. We had to watch it, and it's quite funny because maybe and me when Jodie regenerated into David, I said David Tennant's going to come. You watch, because it wouldn't make no sense for Shooty Gatwood to come because 60th anniversary, and he's not just going to come for that.
Yeah,
Um, so I said that's going to happen. And I kind of knew the bi-generation was happening, but I hope it's not a continuous thing. I just hope it's for that.
yeah,
Because but Russell, I
yeah. I
think,
think if they did it again, it would lose what made it special the first
yeah,
time.
yeah, you want to go back to the normal because you want to shoot to say goodbye. You don't want him to say you are saying goodbye in a way, but if that's going to happen, you could have too many doctors on the earth just chilling.
That's true.
Um,
That's true.
but
So if we were going to discuss it, and which seems crazy because Shooty's barely started, have you got any actors that you would want the next Doctor to regenerate into?
um, I would say it's difficult because, like
It
you
is
say,
really
it's,
difficult. It
there's
is really
so many.
difficult.
You try and think of someone who isn't that known because that's what they go for.
Yeah.
Um, but then they turn really known. So
Oh, well, they could have me. I mean, nobody
yeah,
knows who I am. I could be the next Doctor.
yeah, you be the next Doctor. Like, I think you'll be a good Doctor.
I think I'd make a great Doctor.
Yeah,
There you go. There you go.
yeah,
Stephen
you.
Moffat and Russell T Davis. I'm right here. Call me.
Yeah, you got the Prime Minister in you, so you
Right?
you
I can
you know what to do.
I can definitely channel that Doctor energy.
Yeah. So who do you make your companion?
Oh, that's interesting. Who would I make my companion? Hmm. Like maybe because they do sometimes use, people who are like more like comedians, like we have Bradley Walsh and stuff like that. So I think one of the great modern comedians might be fun. Um, I'm good friends with Ishan Akbar. He's hilarious. I think Ishan Akbar would make a great companion. Or maybe I don't know him, but the Scottish comedian Kevin Bridges.
What about that guy from who plays Bryn in Gavin and Stacey?
Oh, why have I forgotten his name? I know exactly
Yeah.
who he is. Yes,
I forgot his
I
name.
would love to work with him. I would love to work with him. He
I
would be
just
fantastic.
I just laugh at everything he does.
Yeah,
It's
he
really
is great.
funny.
He is
Um,
great.
like
Maybe you could do somebody who's a bit of a crossover, like, who's because there is the amazing Freddie Flintoff, who was both a sports star but also a TV
yeah,
presenter and on A League of Their Own. Freddie Flintoff might make an interesting companion.
brilliant.
I
Yeah.
don't know what his acting's like. I'm sure he's great. He's great at everything.
Yeah, I think we need a comedian
We
Just
need a
line it up.
comedian.
We need to lighten it up because although Bradley Walsh and John Bishop were brilliant, I just don't feel like they lived up to their expectations
No. Which
in
is
it.
why I think Ishan Akbar actually, and he has the sex education crossover like Shooty. He was in an episode of Sex Education, so there is a little bit of a crossover there. So I think
Yeah.
my number one pick for my companion is going to be Ishan Akbar.
Who is the guy who now does the weakest link? What's his name?
Oh, Ramesh.
Yeah. What about him?
Ramesh, Ramesh would be a good choice too.
I just feel like he's being sarcastic all the time.
I think he is.
Yeah.
I think he is. I think that's his definitely his style of humor.
Yeah, because I think he's been on Would I Lie to You? Well,
Yes, I think he has.
yeah.
I think he has.
I think they need to get some of these people in because they used to do it. I mean, they got was it Davina McCall in
Yeah,
not last one, the one
the
before
one before. Yeah,
about the Christmas tree get
yeah.
destroyed. Like they need to get more of these people in.
Yeah, these crossover people playing themselves.
Yeah. Um. So
Multiverse it.
so yeah, I think they need to do that. Um. But I would I would love Michael Sheen to be a master.
Ooh, yeah,
Brilliant, he would.
he would be excellent. That's a really good choice.
Yeah. You know he's been in Doctor Who before.
Remind me, I can't remember when he's been in
Yeah.
Doctor Who.
Remember Matt Smith had an episode with it was called The Doctor's Wife and the TARDIS had this voice called the House, I
I
think.
totally forgot.
Yeah. Doesn't sound like him though, does it? When
No,
you listen to it.
no.
Um and when I went to the Comic Con with Shoot, he was there. He was there at the same day, but
Brilliant.
I didn't see him because I spent enough. I spent enough. Um but yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't been in Doctor Who, really.
Yeah, actually, I do think
Yeah.
that he would
Yeah.
have been a natural fit.
So last series, including all the episodes that have happened
Yeah.
that Shooty's done, do you have a favourite?
Oh, it's tough.
Difficult.
It's tough. But you know what? I'm just gonna say it because I love Christmas. I loved Joy to the Worlds.
What's the last?
I mean, and I love Nicola Coughlan as well. I think she's a fabulous actress. But I have to say, you know, Doctor Who has got to stop making me cry on Christmas Day. Like, guys, it's Christmas Day. Don't make me cry. When the end, when she becomes the star, oh my God. And you see every single one of them that was taken into the, oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's brilliant. It's brilliant TV.
You
Oh,
you can always see when Stephen Moffat's been involved. Always. And
yes.
I just think he's wonderful. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it was, to me, it was everything. It was a perfect Christmas episode.
Yeah. I I thought it was on par with Church of Ruby Road. I thought they were about
Church
the
of Ruby
same.
Road was brilliant.
Yeah.
It was brilliant.
I thought they were both the same, but I do think this music aspect is the two like you said, it's too Disney, and I don't think it should continue.
Yeah,
But
I was really not sure when the Goblin episode aired. I was watching it going, oh, I hope this
yeah,
isn't going to be like a long-term direction
yes,
here. So I'm glad it kind of took the foot off of that musical gas.
yeah. So my favorite episode is the giggle.
Yeah,
Um,
the giggle was brilliant.
it's been my favorite one ever since. And maybe in shoot, it's the series that's just gone. I would say my favorite episode probably is although the finale wasn't great, how it ended up, but I did like the Legend of Ruby Sunday. I thought that was a really good one.
That was.
I like Rogue as well. They're
Yeah.
probably my top two. I like 73 Yards. I like the mysterious of it.
Yeah.
Um, um, I'd say that because I went to the pub. I went to the pub and I went to the location a few months
Nice.
ago. Um,
Nice.
but for the next series, I would say there's a few things that need to happen, right? We need to find out who Miss Flood is, who we need adopting
Yes.
to play.
Yes.
Yeah,
There's so many rumors.
yeah. Do you know? Who do you think is going to be?
I
Do you have
think
any thoughts?
I think is it going to be another what you call like Maestro? Is it going to be another?
I I don't know. I think this will be a Russell T thing with the first series. She's either just an Ava, or the Rani is quite obvious that loads of people were saying.
Yeah,
So
loads of people are
I
saying the
don't
Rani.
I don't think it is. I think she's probably the one who waits. That not the one who waits. The boss that they said, didn't they?
Yeah,
I think that's who she is.
yeah.
But I think it has to get announced. That's something that has
We
to
need to
happen,
know. We need
right?
to know. How
But
does she know what a TARDIS is?
yeah, and yeah, that's something that needs to happen. We need to see more sci-fi adventures, um,
Then
because that really lacked. Although, and sci-fi space ones. It look from that trailer,
yeah.
it looks like that's gonna happen. Um,
We need
and
more like the edge of the universe type episodes.
yeah, and a bit more feistiness from the new companion.
Hmm.
Because Medicus, I loved her, but she was just didn't argue a lot, and
No,
the only time she argued was in Boom,
yeah,
and I liked she argued. So I hope the new. It looks like it is because it looks like the new companion is being taken and has to get home.
yeah.
Um,
That's why Catherine Tate was like a perfect companion, really, let's be honest.
she was. She's one of the best. But in a way, I do think what happened in the Starbeast kind of doesn't make what happened in her departure in Series 4 not as sad anymore.
Yeah.
Because of what happened. Um, but then another thing that it can be quite judgmental, but I think it's important because as a viewer watching Ncuti Gatwa, I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant as a doctor, but
He is.
something he does too frequently. Um, and it's not his fault. It's what he's getting told to do. He cries in a lot of the episodes, right? And it's sometimes I feel because when you if someone cries,
I think that's
uh,
the Disney influence again.
yeah, he needs to do it every so often, right? Not
Yeah,
all the
because
time.
otherwise it just kind of becomes meaningless, doesn't it?
Yeah, you gotta know. Like I've jokes now. I know crying is a serious thing, but I have jokes with friends saying, "Don't cry." He cries
Yeah.
like he's cried in every one. I think barring there maybe one. But he's crying at certain things that don't need to be crying about. Um,
Yeah.
like when he's in the TARDIS, I think in Empire of Death, he's screaming, he's crying. You don't need to cry. But yeah, I love it, but it's something I don't think it's going to change because they want him to be emotional, which is fine. It's fine. You can be emotional but not cry all the time.
I think they just need to take Disney's money and not listen to what Disney says.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind. They just departed from Disney. I mean,
Yeah,
from
no, I wouldn't have any complaints, although they probably wouldn't have the big budgets, but it's fine.
they did the best on the low
Work around.
budget.
We always did fine before the big budgets.
Look at Midnight, all filmed in one room. How good that
Yeah,
was.
exactly.
Um, but yeah, I think that's certain things that need to happen, right, in that series, in next series, because I think it's really important that next series works because otherwise there's pressure. There's always pressure, but even more
100%.
pressure. There are rumors of what the new episodes are going to be called, um, but I won't tell you them.
No, don't
But
tell me. Don't tell me. I want to be surprised.
um, but do you want to know? I could tell you one thing that
Okay.
you could be. I would say there's
Give
going to
me
be
one spoiler
there's
to
going to
wrap up
be
our podcast.
there may be an episode about Eurovision.
That would be interesting.
It would,
That would be
and
very
by
interesting.
by what would happen, that episode could release on Eurovision night, if there is going to be one.
It could.
Um, and yeah, I don't want to say the name just in case I'm wrong, but but yeah, it looks good. It, I think if you have a music episode, do it about Eurovision.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, but last things before we go, is there any advice that you have for anyone listening or about maybe like your diabetes, about raising awareness, about anything?
I think that it can be to do with diabetes, but actually my favorite advice can probably be applied to anyone struggling with anything, even just struggling with who they are. The bravest thing that you can do in this world is to be yourself. 100%. Be yourself because you can waste so much time and so much energy and destroy your mental health trying to fit into, like we said earlier, a box. And you're not meant to live in a box. We're not meant to live in boxes. And I think having type 1, although it was something I struggled with in the early days after my diagnosis, is actually the thing that has led me to do all the things that I'm doing now. It's given me so much more strength, more understanding of all situations and all the things people struggle with. It's been the making of me. It's given me opportunities that I would never have had otherwise. So embrace it. Whatever it is that makes you different, that is your superpower. So embrace it.
Yes, embrace it, embrace it. Um,
Yeah.
and what was that quote that you said earlier? Is that your favorite quote that
The
you said?
Einstein quote. Yeah. I mean, I love that quote as well. Yeah. If um everyone has their talents, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will spend its life thinking it's stupid.
Yeah,
And there's so many beautiful quotes out there, wonderful quotes, but just yeah, do you. Just
do
do
you?
you.
Do you?
Be who you are and be brave.
And I don't care what anyone else says. Just care for what
Exactly.
you do.
Never care what anyone else says.
Yes. But yeah, it's been brilliant speaking to you, Natalie.
Been an
Um,
absolute joy, Mace. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
yeah. And if you ever want a person to come on,
Yes.
that you wanna about anything, I'm all happy to. Um,
Thank you. I appreciate you so
yeah,
much.
we can arrange it sometime.
And
Um,
I'm so excited to see this when it
yes,
comes out. Happy
yes.
Easter,
Happy
everybody.
Easter, everyone,
Happy
and
Easter.
yeah, happy Easter. Have a nice day and eat chocolate if you can.
Absolutely. Eat all the
Thanks,
chocolate.
Natalie.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.